Hey, what's up, everybody? Video 44 coming at you another video. All right, so I hear the odds of the Lakers keeping D'Lo is slightly increased, according to the report I just read. I'm gonna be honest with you. I don't think that's how that really works, to be honest. What you want to do in theory is for yourself to showcase a basketball player so that they can then be worth more in trade. It doesn't become less likely you're able to get a deal. It becomes more likely you're able to get a deal. Now, whether or not you would want to make a deal, well, if you're trying to shop them, why wouldn't you want to make a deal? You know, it's like you're going to wait until a player's not tradable to desire to make a trade. That doesn't make any sense. I mean, it makes sense on its surface when you say, okay, I want to keep this guy because he's playing better. But when you look at the details of D'Lo's situation, it's you don't want him to opt out. So if he's playing better and you expect this to continue for the rest of the season, it's more likely he opts out for a better opportunity and more money. So you should be more likely to want to move him if you were already concerned about that. Now, you should be more likely to be willing to make that move based on the fact that he's playing well. And given the fact that he's playing well, he's more likely to be able to be someone that someone else would want and a player that you don't have to involve so much with in order to get back what it is that you ultimately want. So I think that's... I don't know if I should read into that very seriously other than to say he's playing better and that helps his value. And if people are looking at it like, okay, he's playing better, I don't want to trade him, then with all due respect to them, they're probably the wrong people in the job. They're probably the wrong people for the business they're in, because that's not how this is supposed to be viewed based on his circumstance. With that being said, you feel a lot better about having to keep him, right? If he's forced to stay, you feel much better about a D'Lo 1/2 season rental if he is to be assumed to opt out. You feel so much better about the idea of keeping him because he's playing better. But as far as whether or not you'd be willing to make a trade, nah, you should be more willing to make a trade now. He's worth more. And you want to get rid of the problem that otherwise him opting out provides. So, you know, I think that's something they throw out there to make the fans who want to keep him feel better in the short term. Make him feel better in regards to possibly staying with the Lakers, and make other teams feel more likely to have to up the ante in regards to acquiring him. That's posturing by way of the media. But the truth is, he's probably more likely to be moved now that he's playing better than the other way around. And so that's what I'm here to tell you guys. We don't buy into that crap. We look past that psychology nonsense. We look straight into the circumstances at hand. And the circumstance at hand is the player we're trying to trade is now worth more because he's playing better. It's the same thing that's going on with the Atlanta Hawks with DeJounte Murray. He's playing better now. So now you can demand more from the team that you ultimately want to trade him to. It doesn't mean that now he's playing better, you're less likely to want to move him. No, you definitely want to move him at a higher price to get back what it is that you're intending to. If you only want to move players that are playing bad, then you're going to be selling everything you have for less than what it's ultimately going to be worth if you just wait a little while. This is that worth gaining its ground, and this is the time to cash out if you're serious about moving that piece. Only an idiot wants to sell everything at it when it's low. It's just like a stock. You're going to sell everything when it's red? Keep selling, you're going to keep losing money. You want to sell when it's green. This ain't no different, it's money. It's the same thing. So that's what I'm telling people. It's like, nah, him playing better doesn't do nothing but make it more likely that we can get the leverage we need in place so that we don't have to give up what we don't want to give up in order to make a deal happen involving him. I don't have to throw in Austin Reeves to get whoever DeJounte Murray now, because he's playing at such a level as to make it so that I have the leverage to keep Austin out of that trade. If he plays terrible, yeah, I'm more likely to want to get a terrible player out of my situation, but less likely to get the value for it that I would ultimately be pleased with, which makes a trade make sense in the first place. So that's what I'm here to tell you guys, man. Don't buy into that. Don't buy into that. That's something that's meant to make stupid people feel better, man. That don't mean nothing. You know what I mean? That's all that is. And if I'm D'Lo, I wouldn't feel no better about being on this team for playing better. If anything, I feel like they're featuring me so that they can get me up out of here. You know, truthfully, that's how it goes. I mean, I remember once the Blazers traded, what's his name? Rasheed Wallace to the Atlanta Hawks. He played one game with the Atlanta Hawks, had like 47 points or something like that, and then was immediately traded to Detroit. I look back on that, I realized they featured him to get that 47 points. If I remember that correctly, because I could be totally wrong, but something like that. The point is, he didn't have 47 points because he was just awesome. He had 47 points because he was the only one they were giving the ball to. And in the sense of what it's worth to have a player on your team that you would want to trade, you would be wise to feature that player so that that player can get the most back in return. So this is the time the Lakers should be looking to feature all the players that they ultimately want to trade. If it's Rui Hachimura, then Rui needs to be getting like 15, 20 points or more tonight. If it's D'Angelo Russell, then D'Angelo Russell needs to be giving the ball 25 times for 25 shots tonight. You see what I'm saying? Rather than to say, let me bench this guy and then let's see if somebody wants him in this trade value. Nobody wants him at that trade value because he's not worth nearly what he is if you soup him up to look good. It's just like fattening up a turkey, you know what I mean? You're gonna prop the turkey up to look all sucked in and all messed up. No, you're gonna want that turkey to look right so that somebody would desire to pay for it. So it's no different in sports. It's no different. That's why I'm telling all of you guys, don't buy into that report. That report is trash. At the end of the day, it's all about getting the most for what you have if you're intent on trading it. And if you're looking at it to say, now that he's playing better, I don't want to get rid of him. And that's a fan's perspective. That's not a GM's mindset. A fan's going to want to keep a player when he's playing well and trade away a player who's playing poorly. That ain't how you trade if you're trying to get back what something's worth. So we think like GMs over here. We don't think like fans in that regard. We want him to be traded at a plump, fat turkey price so that we can get the most for the player that we're ultimately trying to get rid of. And that's exactly what I'm here to tell y'all. We're trying to get rid of D'Lo. Not because we don't like him as a player, because we already know what he can do. We drafted him. We won't get rid of him because he's going to be able to opt out. And if he opts out, we get nothing for him. And that doesn't seem like a better bet than trying to trade him and seeing if we could at least get some players to help improve this basketball club. Because at the end of the day, the basketball club right now has needs. So if you're not going to address those needs by way of what your best trade packages are, while simultaneously letting one of those pieces walk for nothing, then you're obviously engaging in malpractice because your team has needs, and he should be traded just off the strength of the circumstance. And for D'Lo, I'd say, I don't really know how much of the business he understands. He should understand the business very well since he's been traded 4 times. If this goes down the way it does, he signed a certain contract that if his representation was doing right by him, would have told him that contract is likely to be traded. That's something he should understand upon signing it. If he doesn't want to be traded, you don't sign a contract like that. That's what I'm saying to you. So that was the conversation surrounding him when he signed it, that he was likely to be traded now. And so he shouldn't be surprised to be traded now. Now, that doesn't mean he wants to be traded or that he's going to be happy when he lands where he's going. For all I know, he got the news that the place he was headed is not somewhere he would otherwise want to be. And maybe he was hoping for a better path to trade than to find himself going to random team A, you know what I mean? But as far as him being upset about the idea of being traded, I don't understand that at all. I don't understand. I don't think you sign that contract unless you're intent on allowing yourself to be traded. Remember, he negotiated his way out of a no trade clause. He had that in his contract with the Timberwolves and negotiated himself away from that upon signing this last 2-year deal with the Lakers, for which he has the ability to opt out himself. If he was so far against being traded by the Lakers, he just simply doesn't negotiate that process. Now, maybe he doesn't have an opportunity with the Lakers. Maybe they don't sign him at all if he keeps his no-trade clause. But nevertheless, he did agree to a no-trade clause being waived, as to which they have the right to trade him. And then from there, with a player option, would likely be incentivized to trade him. So that's something to understand when you sign the contract. And so that's really what I'm here to tell you guys. I think at the end of the day, D'Lo, having been a vet in this league for like 8-9 years or more, he should know what's coming, or that it's highly likely that it's coming. So I think he was more so upset about maybe leaving the guys, you know what I mean? Maybe he doesn't want to leave this team for us right now, which is fine. But as far as him crying because he's going to be traded, I'm not buying it. I don't think that's possible. I think he knows he's going to be traded. or that the likelihood of that contract specifically being traded, regardless of who it's attached to, is high, extremely high. So that's something to understand. Rui Hachimura, on the other hand, a younger player, first contract that he signed, a long-term deal, he has much more to consider. Because at the end of the day, wherever he's traded to, he's going to be attached to for the next 4 years. 4 years is a long time, especially when you're still developing and try to figure out who you want to be in this league and whether or not you have the opportunities you want. Signing a 4-year deal with the Lakers ain't the same as signing a 4-year deal with Detroit. And he didn't agree to sign a 4-year deal with Detroit. He decided he was going to sign a 4-year deal with the Lakers. So it's like, he's probably in a much different situation when you look at his face and see how unhappy he is. Because there's a lot of places to not be if you're Rui Hachimura. But I've seen guys get traded to the boondocks of the worst possible situation and end up being fine in the end anyway. More than not. Rarely does it end up bad for guys who hate going where they ultimately don't want to be. We've seen Chris Webber get traded to the Sacramento Kings and be miserable about it, and then proceed to have a Hall of Fame career there where he couldn't have been more happy to have been there. We've seen, I remember Nick Van Exel was traded to the Nuggets. The Nuggets were the worst team in the league at the time. He ended up making the Nuggets his own. I was actually at the game when he went for 50 points coming back to the Lakers building. Even though we won that game, he went off for like 50. And later ended up on the Dallas Mavericks where he ended up winning an NBA championship. So it's like, your path doesn't have to suck just because you have a bad stop. We've seen players find themselves in situations they don't want to be in. Kyle Kuzma going to Washington, he was miserable there. He's turned himself into, developed into the type of player where he's much better leaving Washington than he is when he got there. So I am assuming he's probably going to be traded right now too, by the way. Kyle Kuzma is on the block from what I understand. Dallas was interested in him last I checked. So was the Sacramento Kings, who was interested in him the whole time. So these are the type of things that we're just considering right now. I don't think that it's overly crazy that anybody get traded at this point, the way the NBA moves. And if a big player gets traded, anybody and everybody can be moved. If LeBron James gets traded, you can expect about 20 players to be involved in a deal like that with like 5 different teams or something. You know what I mean? Anybody can be traded anytime. So if you're in this business, what I'm saying to you is, if you're in this business and you're not one of the mainstay players in this league, or you're not Bradley Beal with a no trade clause, then you should expect that it's part of the business that you be uprooted at any moment before the trade deadline. Any moment, anybody. It's part of what you're getting paid to be able to accept. So that's what people need to understand, man. You're a basketball player. You could be in a place for 10 years and end up getting removed 7 times after that. You know what I mean? It's happened. You think you're going to spend your whole career somewhere, and next thing you know, you end up a journeyman after being in the league for 10 years in the same spot. Like, these type of things are just real, man, and guys gotta, it's never a situation where a guy shouldn't have his bags packed. Not in the NBA, man. Not in the NBA and not in the military. There's 2 things you best believe you can move, fam. You could be on the move at any moment. So that's what I'm saying to you guys, man. I just think that NBA players coming into the league going forward, have it in your heart and mind that it could happen any moment, man. Have it in your heart and mind that you could be traded right away or later, no matter what contract you sign. You saw what happened to Blake Griffin. He signed a max deal thinking he was the key guy. They drafted him. They told him they were going to give him the keys. There was no reason for him to believe he was going to be traded. They traded him the same year he signed that long contract. And like I said, signing a long contract with the Clippers to stay in LA versus signing a contract to Detroit, believe me, he does not sign that contract if he was going to be playing with the damn Detroit Pistons. And that's why they offered him that. In theory. Or they just got cold feet when they realized he was eating up so much of their cap and they couldn't get better. Whatever the case may be, he was stuck there in Detroit because they traded him upon signing that big contract. And you know what they say to him? Well, that's what the money's for. That's supposed to make it worth it. That's supposed to make it acceptable. And a lot of times, guys don't think that way. Guys don't really have that in their minds when they sign a contract for $200 million that it could be moved. You know what I mean? But it can most definitely be moved, especially if you're not living up to that value. Look at a guy like Zach LaVine. Zach LaVine ain't living up to that value, so now people want to move the contract and maybe can't. So even though he signed the contract to be with the Chicago Bulls deteriorated into something he'd probably rather be somewhere else. He can't move because the contract is that of somebody that nobody would want. You don't want that contract at that price, $47 million or whatever it is, to pay Zach LaVine to be hurt half the season. Hell no, nobody wants that. So he's stuck in Chicago. Or you look at a guy like Duncan Robinson, who initially signed like an exorbitant deal with the Miami Heat, and then they ended up sitting him for like the first 3 years of that contract because they couldn't put him in a more or less position to trust that he would stay healthy or play at a level that made it make any sense. Or a guy like Jordan Poole, who signed a contract at an absorbent amount after winning an NBA championship, and now he's stuck in Washington, and that's not turning out all right. He got paid, but the money ain't making him feel no better about being in that situation. So it's just one of those situations where you got to understand that if you're an NBA player, you're going to get traded, maybe. You got to always have it in your mind and heart. Like, yo, they pay me the big bucks not just to play basketball, but to put up with the fact that I could be uprooted, to talk to the media when I don't feel like it, to be in a situation where otherwise I may not play with people I like, or coach may not like me, he may mess with my minutes. You're getting paid millions of dollars for that entire experience and to be able to sit there and be a professional throughout the course of it. It ain't just to play basketball. And I think a lot of guys think they paid to play basketball and be happy. No, you paid to put up with bull crap. That's what it is. And if you happen to play basketball in that process, congratulations. But there's a good chance you could be sitting. There's a good chance you could be stuck in a bad situation or trade to a worse situation, play for a coach who doesn't believe in you, or someone who's going to overuse you because he does believe in you, and then as a result have you doing stuff you ain't got no business doing. All different types of paths. Now you play for a bad team and you can't make an all-star team. You're getting paid to be able to put up with that. And I don't think everybody understands that when they sign. That's what the millions are for. That's why it's so much money you're getting. And so I tell people, man, if you're not signing up for that, if you're not mentally ready for that, you know, you're in the wrong business. You're in the wrong business. They're not just paying you to play ball. They're paying you to be a superstar. They're paying you to be to absorb nonsense. They're paying you to promote the league. They're paying you to be involved in trade rumors. They're paying you to listen to people talk about you every morning and make fun of your last name. Like, seriously, like literally that. To be measured against another guy on a different scale, different crap that you're gonna have to put up with if you're an NBA player. That's what your salary is for. It is. And they understand that, and they want you to understand that. So that when you put up with their crap, you don't throw a fit. Or that you don't wield whatever power you may gain in them circumstances against them. That's what the money's for, so that you will allow them grace to do whatever they want to do, even if you do gain the power like that. A lot of people don't feel it's worth it, but they don't know what they're signing up for, but they are signing those contracts, so now you have signed up for that. So that's why proper representation is important. That's why peers in the NBA teaching one another, each one teach one type stuff is so important, so that guys know what they're getting into, man. That's why having vets on the roster is so important, so guys know what they're getting into. Many people think it's your dream. It ain't your dream. Your NBA may be your dream if you have the right path, or you may be stuck on a bad team your whole career. Never get a chance to play for your hometown team. Never get a chance to be a starter. Never get a chance to realize your greatest potential. Be weighed, like I said, weighed against a guy on a different scale when you know you're more talented than him, but because they like him and he has a great coach and all these different things, they saying he's better than you, and you know you can beat him every day in a game. You know, your value can drop overnight based on a couple of injury issues and things of that nature. Now all of a sudden you went from a superstar to a bench warmer. You're getting paid to respect that and not throw a fit, not be anything less than happy on the bench rooting for your teammates when that happens. And so that's what it is, man. I hope people are paying attention to what I'm saying. Obviously I'm not in that business, but I understand it. I understand it fully in that way. And there's a lot of perks that come with that. That's why people don't want to hear you complaining. That's exactly why they don't want to hear you complaining. You know, if you're getting traded, you can trade it. Ain't nobody saying you got to be happy about it, but don't throw a fit. Expect that you're going to be expected to play well. All of that, because that's what you sign all the millions for. That's what the money's for. So, yeah, man. So I'm telling everybody. Hope everybody's enjoying this content. I'm enjoying my day out here. The weather is finally nice for the first time in several days. And, you know, we'll continue to talk about the NBA as the trades come in and as the rumors continue to flow. But for now, that's pretty much what I have to say. My name is BDF44. Thank you all for watching, and I'm out.